Hi, Outdoor Gear. So today we're going to be talking about drying. And I know a lot of you are like, oh, I know all about dehydrating fruit and beef jerky and all of that. But do you know why we do it and kind of like the components of it and like the nutrient value of it? So that is kind of a little bit about what we're going to be discussing today and then the process of it. So for this presentation, we're going to be focusing more on drying fruit since that's what we're going to be doing in class. So the reason why we want to dry fruits or even meats and even vegetables when thinking about being out in like the wilderness or, on a camping trip, whatever it might be, is because one, it's going to last longer, and two, it's going to weigh a lot less than fresh food, right? If I have, a fresh apple and dried apple slices, okay, the fresh apple is going to weigh more than my apple slices, all right? And again, it's going to last longer. All right, so fruits contain a lot of vitamins and minerals. We're all aware of that, such as B complex vitamins, vitamin C, carbohydrates, iron, phosphorus, and calcium. Again, if we are on a hiking trip, boundary waters trip, anything like that, those are all things that we are definitely going to need to help us sustain our energy, our health while we are there. Excuse me. Now, some vitamin C may be lost through the drying process, but overall, the other nutrients are usually pretty unaffected given that you are doing the drying process correctly. Why is it doing this? All right. So again, the amount of vitamins that are retained by the dried fruits again depends on how it is processed, how it is dried, and how it is stored. So we'll talk about that too, so that we can ensure that you are maintaining the most nutrients possible. The longer that you dry an item, and also using the higher the temperature, the more you are going to lose those nutrients. So that's one key to kind of keep in mind. All vitamins and minerals and fiber are concentrated by drying. Now, we talked about this a little bit in class when we were talking about things being concentrated. So, when something is concentrated, it is taking the water out of it. All right. So, if the vitamins and the minerals and the fiber are concentrated, all right, and all the water is taken out, it means you're going to have more of those by volume. All right. So, if I have a pound of dried, again, apple slices and a pound of fresh apple slices, there's going to be more nutrients in that pound of dried apple slices than a pound of the fresh. All right. So, again, keep that in mind too. If you are eating dried fruits and vegetables, that extra fiber, all right, keep that in mind. All right. You'll be taking a lot of bathroom visits. All right, some things that you need to know. For fruits to dry quickly enough to prevent spoilage and fermentation, the skin always has to be perforated in some way to allow moisture to escape. So I can't just take a whole apple, stick it on the dehydrator, and expect it to dry properly. All right, it'll spoil, it would ferment, and that would be not a good thing. All right, so there's different ways that you can perforate the skin. You can either cut it in half, you can cut it into slices, or you can check it. Now, what you choose to do for either halving, slicing, or checking depends on the size of the item. All right, so for halving, all right, you would want to do this for fruits such as apricots, small peaches, or pears. When you have pits, all right, you want to make sure that you remove those. And when you put them on the dryer, you want to put like the skin side down, kind of like I have in the picture here. All right, if you put it the other way, all right, all of your flavor and all of your juices are going to drip down and you're not going to have much flavor of what is left then when you go to eat it. So if you put it the skin side down, you'll still maintain that flavor and those juices and those sugars, those natural sugars. All right. Now slices, all right, would be for your larger fruits. All right. So first you'd want to peel and then cut into about 1/4, 1 inch half thickness of those slices. For this, the entire surface area of the fruit will dry in less time than if the fruits, again, were left whole or even if they were halved. All right, so think of, your bigger fruit items. Another thing to keep in mind with all items, no matter what it is that you're dehydrating, is you want to make sure that you have uniform sizes. All right. Because if you have something that's really thin, all right, and something that's really thick, one is going to dry a lot faster than the other. Okay. So either you're going to have something that's going to get over dried or something that's going to get under dried. And that's not good. All right, and then the last method is checking. Now, checking would be for your small fruits. So think of like your prunes, your cherries, your grapes. This is also used for things that have kind of like that waxy bloom. Again, think of like grapes or in cherries. And so what you do, you just need to crack and perforate that skin somehow. All right, because these, if you were to cut these in half, they are too small. They would shrivel up and be nothing. So all you do is you just need to perforate that skin and to allow that moisture to escape. All right, so the appearance and flavor of the food. The flavor and texture of some fruits change when the food is dehydrated. So think of grapes. What do grapes turn into when they're dehydrated? They turn into raisins. All right, plums. What do plums turn into? They turn into prunes. All right, so they dramatically change when they are dehydrated. Some things, not so much. Like strawberries, apples, bananas, those tend to kind of maintain a lot of their flavor. A big thing that can affect the appearance and flavor of fruits is the maturity of the fruit when it is harvested. Also, when it's processed and put on the dehydrator. If you have a fruit that is underripe, it's not going to have as much of a sweet flavor to it, and the color of it. Now, if we're using this fruit for, the nutritional value of it, does the color of it really matter? Probably not so much. But, we would like for it to have some flavor, right? If it's overripe fruit, when you put it on the dehydrator, it's going to kind of have a slightly fermented flavor. It's not going to have a nice texture to it, and it may also darken excessively. All right, so how do we begin to dry something? First of all, you want to sort and select the highest quality of ripe and ready to eat fresh fruit. You want to wash it gently and remove any dirt, bacteria, or insect larvae. If you use cold water, this will also kind of help preserve that freshness of the fruit. And we want to make sure we wash it just before we're going to put it on the dehydrator. All right. Then we want to remove any stems, peels. Then we're going to either, take out the core, the pit, cut it into half, do slices, check it, whatever we decide we're going to do with that fruit. If we see any bruise spots on it, so let's say we're doing a banana, sometimes bananas bruise very easily, we would want to cut out that bruise spot. Because if we have one bruise spot, it's going to spread and it can ruin the whole batch. Now, speaking of bananas and things like apples, they think about when you bite into them and you let it sit for a little bit, what happens to it? It turns brown, right? All right. This is an oxidization that occurs when the enzymes that are in the fruit are exposed to air. All right. So if that doesn't bother you, because it's not going to hurt you, what you could do is just leave it. But if you don't like how that looks, you can use an ascorbic acid. So there's a couple different options. You can use lemon juice. All right, that's a fairly cheap option. They also sell ascorbic acid powder. It's called Fruit Fresh, and you can kind of sprinkle that on the fruit as well. Some people don't, they think it gives it a different taste. Some people don't like the taste of the lemon juice. But either those two products, the ascorbic acid of it, will kind of prevent your fruit items that would normally turn brown from turning brown and kind of keep them that normal color. All right, so first want to turn on your dehydrator. Some dehydrators have a preheat option. You want to arrange your fruit on the drying trays. Now, we don't want to cram all the items super tight on the trays. We want to make sure that we're leaving area for the air to circulate. All right, if it's all crammed on there, it's not going to circulate. Our food is not going to dry, it's going to spoil. Again, we want our sizes to be the same so that all dries at the same time. Once I put my food on there, I don't want to disturb it. All right, just let it be, because if I'm interrupting it, that's going to prolong the process, which increases the chance of it spoiling. Once I put stuff on there, again, I'm not going to start adding other pieces to it like halfway through. So again, that's going to add more moisture to the mixture. Again, that's going to increase our chance of spoilage. Most dehydrators come with a little booklet that would tell you how long to dry the certain fruits. When in doubt, you can always Google it as well. All right, so how do I know when it's done? Once you if you look at that booklet or you Google it, and it says, 4 to 6 hours, at that 4 hour mark, you're going to kind of want to start checking on it, looking at it. You can kind of see most, if a dehydrator has, clear, like the clear top to it, so you can kind of see how they're looking. You'll be able to tell if it looks like it's getting dry, because remember, we don't want to over dry it. We'll lose those nutrients. Um, your fruit should be able to bend. All right, it shouldn't snap in half, but when it bends, you shouldn't see moisture pockets. All right, so when your fruit is done, or your meat or your vegetables, whatever it is that you're drying, you want to store it. All right, because it can be stored for quite a long time if you store it properly. You want to let it cool completely because it will be warm. You can store it in plastic freezer bags. If you do that, take out the excess air. And one thing that you want to keep in mind is store it in amounts that once it's been opened, it will be consumed within a couple days. All right, if I have 5 pounds of dried strawberry pieces and I'm just eating it, little by little, well, by the time I finish it, they're probably going to get ruined, because each time I'm opening that bag, air is getting into those pieces, and it's going to get ruined, and it's going to compromise the quality of it, and by the end, like I said, they're just going to spoil and get icky. And that is it on drying. So again, we are going to be drying fruit in class to be making our own homemade trail mix. So I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited about it, and I look forward to doing this with you guys.